class of service. So I think most of the things are already so pretty much clear to us in the legacy routers. Whatever we do the same thing on Versa appliances as well. Here and there are some changes. Let's see that. Okay, we'll try to understand the class of service concepts. Then how are we trying to process the incoming traffic, and how are we trying to process the outgoing traffic? How do you configure the class of service, and what is meant by adaptive shaping? Okay. When it comes to the class of service, as we know that, so we'll try to prioritize the network traffic. So it will try to manage the traffic congestions on the interfaces. Okay, so we'll try to manage the queuing and the buffering of the network traffic on the interfaces. So we'll try to do this so with the help of the class of service configuration. Right. So when it comes to the class of service stages, so we have a classification. So how do you identify the traffic? So that is nothing but classification. Then if you wanted to restrict the incoming traffic, so we can create the policer. Okay, so with the help of policer, we try to prevent the exceeding traffic amounts. Then if you wanted to do the rewriting, so we can make use of the remarking rules. You wanted to place the traffic. After classifying the traffic, you wanted to place the traffic as a part of some outgoing queues. So we can place it with the help of the queuing. And the traffic once, so it is queued, how do you want to treat the traffic? Which traffic should go out of the device first? That is controlled with the help of the schedulers. And so the shaping value, what is the bandwidth allocated at that outgoing interface? So you wanted to restrict it. So you can mention the shaping value here. Okay. So if you look at the life of a packet on Versa appliances, so what is going to happen? So this is your incoming interface. Assume this is your incoming interface. So this is outgoing interface. The physical interface is VNI 0 by 0. So to this physical interface, we have two sub interfaces. One is 0 by 0.19. The other one is 0 by 0.20. Okay, so to each and every interface, so what is going to happen? There are some classes that are binded. Okay, what all the classes we have it in Versa? The traffic classes. So NC, EF, AF, and then best effort. Okay, so the traffic classes are network control, expedite forwarding, assured forwarding, and then best effort. Okay, these traffic classes will contain the queues. So these traffic classes will contain the queues. Each and every traffic class contains 4 queues. So in Versa, there are totally 16 queues that are going to happen. So to each and every traffic class, there's a Q0 to Q3. So each and every traffic class contains Q0 to Q3, 4 traffic classes, traffic queues. Now, how does this traffic queues will be used? So what traffic should be placed in this traffic queues? That is decided with the help of the forwarding classes. Whatever the traffic we are going to map with a forwarding class, that forwarding class refers to one or the other outgoing queues. Okay, right. So if I'm trying to match the traffic, let's say I'm trying to match the traffic, VoIP traffic, and I wanted to put it in one of the EF class. I'll try to mention the VoIP traffic, and I'm going to mention the forwarding class 5. What does this forwarding class 5 refer? There is already a queue binded to it, which is nothing but Q1 of expedite forwarding traffic class. Okay, so to each and every queue, there is a forwarding class which is already mapped. So the moment you try to map the traffic and places in the forwarding class, so that automatically the traffic gets into the respective queues. Okay, so whenever the traffic is mapping to the forwarding class and before the traffic is getting placed in the queues, you wanted to do some rewriting rules, so you are good to do that. So before the traffic is getting placed in the queues, so you wanted to perform the rewriting, so that is possible. You can perform the rewriting here. Now, how are we going to match the traffic classes, or how are you going to match the forwarding classes with the help of the QoS policies? We'll try to match the traffic, and we'll try to match the traffic with the help of the QoS policies, and we are going to refer it to one or the other forwarding classes. When we try to refer to one or the other forwarding classes, what is going to happen? So it refers to one or the other outgoing queues. So these queues will be associated to one or the other traffic classes. Okay. Now, how are we going to allocate the bandwidth? How are we going to mention which traffic is going to have the high priority? That and all decided with the help of the scheduler. So the scheduler will decide to this traffic class, what is the bandwidth we are going to allocate, and out of the available bandwidth on this VNI 0 by 0. Whatever the bandwidth we have it here, so we are going to So use that bandwidth so available on this interface. How do you decide that? With help of the scheduler. Now, so within this 20% of the bandwidth, which queue is going to have the high bandwidth? That is decided with help of the queue priority. So we'll be deciding this available bandwidth with help of the queue priority. We are going to allocate that bandwidth to this queues. Okay. So most of the configuration, so we are going to do it with help of the schedulers.
So this network control traffic class, right? This is for the internal communication only, or we can send our own, say, example, voice traffic, something or
totally our control, Vignesh. You can use any queues, any traffic classes to forward the actual traffic. For example, I wanted to use YouTube traffic and forward it to the forwarding class 3, which refers to the Q3 of network control. That is possible. Okay, so generally on legacy routers, NC is nothing but all the control plane traffic, right? So here you can use any of the traffic and match with this particular queues. And of course, by default, there is some control plane traffic which will be using the NC. That to the Q0. Okay, by default, there is some traffic used by the Q0.
And so Hari, yes. Yeah, sorry. So we can also allocate the bandwidth. Suppose in our traffic class 0, we allocate 20% bandwidth. So we can also assign just 20% within a Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3.
So out of available bandwidth, which queue should get the high bandwidth? You can mention with help of the queue priority. Okay.
Okay.
You can do that. Now coming to the processing.
Hari, yes. we can have a different class of service for every tenant.
Yes, of course you can do it, right? So most of the configuration is related to the tenant level. So at the tenant level, you can configure the different class of service.
Different class of service. Okay.
The shaping values are Ankush, so you can decide at the tenant level. You can restrict the bandwidth at the tenant level. That's possible.
Okay. So that is actually from the device itself. If I have a 10 Mbps outgoing interface, then I can decide on which tenant I can give what number of throughput.
Yes, you can do. Okay. Right. So processing the incoming traffic. What all the parameters we have it to process the incoming traffic? So the classification part, then policing part, then matching the traffic with help of the forwarding classes. Right, coming to the classification. So how do you classify the traffic in Versa? So you have the QoS policies in order to classify the traffic. Okay, so it can use multiple match conditions. So this is a very interesting thing on Versa traffic classification. You can use the L2 information, so which is nothing but the MAC addresses and .1p bits. You can use it. Or you can go with the L3 information and L4 information like IP addresses, protocol, and port numbers. Or you can extend up to the L7 as well. L7 as such, you can use the applications and you can use the URL informations as well. For example, all social networking websites categories, I wanted to provide the least bandwidth. Or for application called YouTube and Dailymotion, what I wanted to do is I wanted to do the policing. Okay, so if your requirement is, so based upon the advanced L7 information, you wanted to restrict the traffic. So you can think about taking this L7 match conditions and implement the policing or implement any of these respective parameters. Okay. So here in the class of service, how do you classify the traffic with help of the QoS policies? You can use L2 to L7 parameters and try to assign with one or the other forwarding class. Okay. How to assign the forwarding class? So that is decided with help of the QoS profile. Okay. So you need to create the QoS profile. You need to mention what is a forwarding class and what is the loss priority. So with the help of these two, you'll try to match with the QoS policy. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little later. Now, what is going to happen here? Okay, so the classification with the help of QoS policy, you are going to match the traffic and you are going to place the traffic as a part of forwarding class. Okay, so as we already discussed, the traffic classes NC, EF, AF, and then best effort. Okay, each and every traffic class has got a 4 queues, and by default, the forwarding classes are binded to these queues. When it comes to the next step in the processing the incoming traffic, which is nothing but the policing. After classifying the traffic, you wanted to implement the rate limiter. After classifying the traffic, you wanted to implement the rate limiter. That can be done with help of the policing. Again, policing will be applied with help of this QoS profile. Okay. In Versa, what is going to happen? So once the traffic is exceeding the bandwidth, whatever you configured in the policing, the only action what we can do is discard. Okay. So the only action what we are going to do is discard the traffic. Okay. Unlike legacy routers, after exceeding the bandwidth, you wanted to place the traffic in other queues or other classes. That's not possible in Versa. The only action, once you are trying to rate limit the traffic, the only action what we can do is discard the traffic. Okay, how do you provide the policing? It is with the help of the rate limit or with the help of the burst size. Okay. When it comes to the forwarding classes, so what is going to happen in the forwarding classes? There are totally 16 forwarding classes. So each and every forwarding class is binded to one or the other outgoing traffic queues. So this is a default mapping. So between the forwarding classes and then queues, there's a default mapping. So if you wanted to change that mapping, so you are good to do that. Okay. But by default, every forwarding class is referred to one or the other outgoing queues. Okay. So there's a default mapping, forwarding class 0 to 1, 2, 3. So which is mapped to the traffic class 0, which is nothing but NC. So 4 to 7, which is mapped to the EF. Okay, then 8 to 11, so which is mapped to the AF. Okay, so then 12 to 15, which is mapped to the best effort. Okay, this by default mapping. Okay, so if you wanted to change it, so you are good to change that as well. When it comes to the processing the outbound traffic, so what all the options we have it. So you wanted to rewrite the markings. You wanted to place the traffic as a part of a particular outgoing queue. And how do you want to allocate the bandwidth? So you can make use of this scheduling. And you wanted to restrict the interface bandwidth. You are going to mention with the help of the shaping values. Right, how do you do the rewriting? So this is a very important part. So how do you perform the rewriting? So with the help of the task bits, so you can perform the rewriting. Okay, so now how exactly you are going to do that? Can I directly match the traffic and perform the rewriting? For example, if I'm receiving it for AF31, I wanted to rewrite to AF. So can you directly do that? No. There is a bridge in between. So after matching the traffic, you are trying to refer one or the other forwarding classes. Okay, so with help of QoS profile, so we'll try to apply the policies and forwarding classes. Okay, with help of this forwarding classes as a match condition, and then loss priority, forwarding class and then loss priority, we try to match it. And with help of this, we are going to perform the rewriting. Okay, there is a bridge here. You cannot directly match the traffic and you cannot perform the rewriting. Instead, as the classification, you are referring with one of the QoS profile. That QoS profile contains the forwarding class and loss priority. With help of these two match conditions, what we can do is we can do the rewriting part. As we know that, so the task bits, okay, so the DSCP markings, so we are trying to take the 6 bits out of the 8 task bits, so we can perform the DSCP rewriting here. Okay. Right, so then, so coming to the traffic queues, so as we see that each and every traffic class contains the queues, so each and every traffic class contains 4 queues. Okay, so the packet, so before it is transmitted on the wire, the traffic will be, or the packets will be stored temporarily on these queues. Okay, so the packets can be buffered. So if the transmission line is busy, or if the other higher traffic is preferred. And definitely the buffered traffic will try to increase the delay and then jitter values. Right, when it comes to the prioritizing the traffic, okay, which traffic class should contain the maximum bandwidth, which traffic should be forwarded first? How do you decide that? With the help of the schedulers. Okay, with the help of the schedulers. Okay, so now the scheduler will decide what is the bandwidth that will be allocated to the traffic classes, and as well as within the traffic class, how the queues are going to be prioritized. So that is again decided with the help of the schedulers. Now, during the time of congestion, which traffic can be dropped first, or how to drop the traffic? again decided with the help of the schedulers. Okay. So we have a tail drop mechanism, and as well as we have the random early detection drop. Okay. But on Versa, we can create, so the random early detection, once it exceeds the random early detection rate limiters, then it starts doing the tail drop. Okay. So you can mention the loss priority information. So if the loss priority is low, and then loss priority is high. During the time of congestion, the traffic which is marked with the loss priority high will be dropped first compared to the loss priority low. All this configuration, we can do it with the help of the schedulers. Okay, so we try to create the schedulers with the help of the scheduler map. We are going to map the schedulers with the traffic classes. Coming to the shaping values, so what we try to do is, so we are going to administratively decide what is the interface speed. Okay, so if I don't mention that interface speed, what is going to happen? By default, it is going to use the physical interface speed in order to calculate the bandwidth. So by default, Versa assumes it like a 1 gig interface. Okay, by default, Versa is going to assume like a 1 gig interface. So you have to explicitly go ahead and change this shaping values. Okay. Right, if I go and verify the traffic shapers here, for example, the physical interface is 1 gig. Okay, so this 1 gig is the interface. If I don't configure the shaper, what will happen? All the calculation will be considered for the 1 gig. Now, the moment we start, so administratively configuring the shaping, what is going to happen? So here the outbound traffic, the shaper is 100 Mbps. Though the physical interface is of 1 gig, the maximum bandwidth is 100 Mbps. Okay. So this shaping value, whatever the shapers we are trying to mention at the interface level, what is going to happen? So it will try to prevent one interface consuming the complete available bandwidth. Okay. So here, so we have got the multiple tenants. So we have created the shaper at each and every interface. So what is going to happen? So this shaper value, which is connected, the shaper interface, which is connected to the tenant one, it is 100 Mbps. So always the tenant one maximum bandwidth is 100 Mbps. Now the tenant two, so we have mentioned the shaper as 100 Mbps. So the maximum value for tenant two is also 100 Mbps. But on total, when it comes to the physical interface, the maximum bandwidth is 200 Mbps.
So Hari, this 100 Mbps is a link bandwidth, right? Whatever link bandwidth we purchase.
Not the link bandwidth. So you are trying to mention the shaper at the interface. See, for example, VNI 0/2. This is physically it is a 1 gig port.
Yeah.
This is a 1 gig port. So if I don't mention the shaper, what will happen? The complete traffic will be utilized by this interface. Now you wanted to rate limit it. How much is the maximum bandwidth this interface can consume? That you can.
Yeah. My physical interface is a 1 gig, but I have terminated the 60 Mbps link or a 100 Mbps link. Okay. On physical connection.
Yes.
So we'll calculate. I have to mention that link.
Yes.
That size here, right?
Yes. So that you have to explicitly mention. 100 MB you have to explicitly mention. Now, so think about this way. Okay, so you got 100 MB. Okay, so VNI 0/2 is my physical link. I got a 100 MB link here. Now to this, so physical links, we have created two sub interfaces, VNI 0/2.10. So VNI 0/2.20. Now out of these 100 MB, I'll allocate 60 MB to this link, 40 MB to this link. So that what will happen, they are not going to burden the, so for example, if I don't configure this shaper values, what will happen? Complete 2.10 interface may consume the 100 MB traffic, or 2.20 may consume the 100 MB traffic. I don't want that to happen. What I'll try to do is, for 2.10, I'll mention the shaper value as 60 MB. For 2.20, I'll mention the shaper value as 40 MB. Now the maximum throughput or the maximum bandwidth available for 2.10 logical interface is 60 MB. 2.20 is 40 MB. Okay. Now, when it comes to the physical interface, though you get a 100 MB link, what is going to happen? the device will still consider it as a 1 gig interface. We have to go to this device explicitly, and under the physical interface, you have to mention the bandwidth values.
100, okay.
Yeah, 100 MB, you have to mention it. Okay. Right. So these two are different things, Prakash. Just a minute. Just a minute, Prakash. Right. So, I mean, if you are getting a interface, I mean, ISP as 100 MB, so we have to go to this physical interface and we have to change this bandwidth manually. Okay. So if you don't change the bandwidth manually, the percentage is always calculated with a 1 gig. Okay. Now, for example, I went to this interface and I mentioned the percentage values. Okay. So assume this is my 60%, this is my 40% bandwidth. I mean, if I just mention the percentages, and if I got only the internet link of 100 MB, and if I don't change the interface bandwidth physically, what is going to happen? This interface will have a maximum of 600 MB. This interface will be having a maximum of 400 MB. So which will totally reverse our calculation. So due to that, at the interface, we have to explicitly go ahead and change the bandwidth which is available.
Right.
Okay. Right. This is about the shaping values. So we have to explicitly go ahead and change the shaper values. But coming to the configuration part. So what all the configurations we are going to do it for the COS. Okay, so the first step is to create the QoS profile. Under the QoS profile, you are going to mention what is the forwarding class and what is its loss priority. And so is this traffic you wanted to go with some policing? We'll try to mention the policer here with the help of the bits, packets, and then bytes information. Okay. So then are you interested, whatever the traffic, whatever the profile you are trying to configure, are we interested to perform the rewriting? You are going to just check that box. Okay, so this traffic, are we going to rewrite? So you are going to check that box. Okay, so the next step, so we'll try to create, okay, so the QoS policies. So these QoS policies are two types. One is QoS policy, where we can use L2, L3, and L4 as the match conditions, or app QoS policies, where we can extend L2 to L7 as a match, L3 to L7 as a match conditions. Okay. After using this, after matching these QoS policies, so we are going to refer one of the QoS profile for this QoS policies. Okay. Now the next steps. So the next steps. So if you wanted to go with the rewriting, okay, we'll try to create the rewriting rules. So by matching with the forwarding class, loss priority, then do the DSCP rewriting. Okay, so if you are interested to do the DSCP rewriting, so you can go ahead and you can change the DSCP markings. Okay. So in order to construct the scheduler, so you wanted to decide, okay, so if I'm going with a red random early detection, I'll try to mention the number of minimum packets that are in buffer and the maximum packets that are in buffer to trigger the random early detection.
Sorry.
Okay, fine. Right, so the minimum number of packets in the buffer and the maximum number of packets in the buffer. So we'll try to mention the red profile. Okay, so the next step, we'll go ahead and we'll configure the scheduler. So the scheduler contains most of the configuration. So we'll try to mention what is the queue priorities. Okay, so then we'll try to mention, so what is the red profile we are going to mention, and what is the transmit rate and what is the guaranteed rate. Guaranteed rate is the minimum bandwidth which is getting to that particular traffic class. The transmit rate, so which can extend if other classes are not occupying it, So the maximum transmit rate, so it can occupy. So we are going to mention this transmit rate here. Okay. Right, after configuring the schedulers, what is the next step? So we'll go with the scheduler map. So in the scheduler map, what we try to do is, we'll try to bind the scheduler to one or the other traffic classes. Okay, one or the other traffic classes. So what is the last step? So we'll try to go to the shaping. Okay, so at the interface, so we'll try to go with the shaping values. We'll try to bind the scheduler map to the interfaces. Okay. So we are going to enable all these options as a part of associate interface. We'll enable the shaping values, and as well as, so we'll try to go and bind the scheduler map to this interfaces. We'll try to go and bind the rewriting rules to this interface. Okay. Let's see all these steps. Okay, so the first step is to create the profiles. How do you create it? So under the configuration, templates, class of service, all these options, QoS profiles, QoS policies, app QoS policies, rewrite rules. Okay, so then red profiles, okay, schedulers, scheduler maps, and the last step is associate with the interface. Okay. So the first step is creating the profiles. So I'm going to the QoS policies, QoS profile, adding a name to it. So so whenever you are trying to create a profile, adding a name to it. So as we discussed, so you can assign the forwarding class, you can assign the loss priority, and if you wanted to perform the policing, so policing option, and there is a rewrite checkbox as well. So below this forward class, there is a rewrite checkbox as well. So if you are interested, you can check that box. Okay, what is the default mapping? So the forwarding classes, so the 0 to 3, so which goes with the traffic class 0. Forwarding classes 4 to 7, expedite forwarding, 8 to 11, assured forwarding, 12 to 15, best of all. Okay, while creating the QoS profile, you try to select to which forwarding class the traffic is going to be mapped to, and what is its loss priority. The loss priority low and then high during the time of congestion. So the loss priority high traffic will be dropped first compared to the loss priority low traffic. Right, so coming to the next configuration, which is nothing but the QoS or app QoS policies. So it is as good as configuring an ACL. Okay, so configuring an ACL, you are going to match with multiple parameters. Let's try to see that. So first, let's configure the QoS policy. Under the QoS policy, you have the general tab. We are going to mention a name to it. Then under this source and destination, you are going to mention the zones information, source zone, and then destination zone information. Okay, so then source address and then destination IP address. Even if you wanted to negate that options, so you can use this negate, source address negate, and the destination address negate options. Okay, so coming to the headers, here you can match with the L4 parameters, so which is nothing but the IP protocol and then destination port informations. Okay, so if I take example of HTTP, TCP is the protocol, destination port is 80. So if it is a HTTPS, TCP is the protocol, and the destination port is 443. Okay. So if I'm interested, even I can match with the IP header version, either it is IPv4 or IPv6. IP flags like fragments are more fragmented. So you can mention these IP flags as well. Coming to the interesting part in the QoS, if you wanted to match with the existing markings, so you can make use of this DSCP markings as well. So if you wanted to create the time-based kind of ACLs, so you can create the schedulers as well. Then the other match conditions, so the layer 2. Okay, so how do you match with the layer 2? So the MAC addresses, you wanted to mention it. So you can mention that, so the MAC addresses information. So with the help of the source MAC address, so you are good to implement the QoS policies. After having all the match conditions, what is the action we try to do? So we'll try to click on that enforce. Okay, under the enforce, we'll try to mention the action called allow, and then so we'll try to bind the QoS profile here. Now, if you wanted to verify what is a QoS profile you have selected and click on that view QoS profile, so you are good to see that what is a QoS profile settings, we have it. Okay. So the additional things when we are going with app QoS policies, so as we know that Versa is capable of extending its inspection up to the L7. Look at the differences between the QoS and app QoS policies. We are mentioning a name, source and destination address, source zone and destination zones, and the header information. These are common things. Coming to the applications and URLs, you are going to match with the L7 applications. Okay. You are going to match with L7 apps. and as well as the URLs informations. So the URL categories. Okay. So you wanted to match with any L7 applications or URL informations, you are good to do that. Okay. Whereas the enforce action, again, so you can mention the allow and then QoS profile here. So you'll try to mention the QoS profile. So whatever the profile you selected, you wanted to view it. So you can click on that. So view QoS profile, you could see that. Okay, so what is the profile that is configured? If it is a policer or what is a forwarding class, what is loss priority? So if you wanted to do the DSCP rewriting or .1p rewriting, so you can enable these two options. Okay. What about the next steps? So if you wanted to, so verify the app QoS policies or QoS policies, you are good to do that. Now coming to the ordering of the policies, so it is as good like any ACL, the top to bottom evaluation. So if you wanted to rearrange that policies, so you can enable with help of these icons. So either move top, move bottom, or move up, move down. Coming to the DSCP rewritings. Okay, so you can perform the DSCP rewritings. So how do you try to do that? I'll go to the rewriting rules. I'll click on that adding a rewriting rules. So provide a name to it. What type of mapping it is, the DSCP rewriting or .1p rewriting. Then select which forwarding class, what is its loss priority, and how do you want to change that rewriting. Okay, so there is no direct mapping with the traffic. So this is the bridge. So you are going to create the rewriting rules by matching with the forwarding class, loss priority, and change the code here. Okay. So the rewriting rules, so the moment you create the rewriting rules, these are not active. So once we create the rewriting rules, so we are going to apply it to the interfaces. So then only the configuration gets activated. Okay. So the rules, so just define, but the next step is to apply to the associated interface. Right, so coming to the schedulers and then the shaping values. So we are going to create the schedulers. So we'll try to apply the schedulers to the traffic classes with help of the scheduler maps. And at the interface level, we are going to apply the scheduler map to the interface. Right, how do you create the schedulers? So there are so many options in the schedulers. The first option is the drop profile. Okay. So what is this drop profile? So the weighted, so the drop profiles or the WRED, random early detections. So what is going to happen? So based upon the number of packets that are in buffer, so we'll start dropping some traffic. Randomly we'll drop some traffic so that the traffic which is in the buffer will not go up to the congestion. Once the congestion is applied on this queue, what is going to happen? There is a tail drop that will happen to this queue. Okay. So the moment the queue is full, so it is going to be the tail drop. The moment the queue is full, it is going to be the tail drop. So it is not going to accept the incoming traffic. So before all the traffic gets congested on the queues, so you wanted to perform some kind of algorithm, which is nothing but random early detection algorithms. So the amount of queue that is occupied, so based on that, let's try to drop some existing traffic in the queues so that the incoming traffic will not be dropped. Okay. So you can mention, so the red profile, so the randomly will start dropping some packets. So before the queue gets completely full. Okay. Right. So you can create the red profile. So by making use of this configuration, drop profile, so profile name, what is the maximum number of packets so within the queue? So what is the minimum number of packets so which are in buffer within the queue? Right, what will happen? So if it is reaching to the minimum number of packets, it starts applying the red profile. Okay, it starts applying the red profile. So what is the maximum number of packets in the queue? So before it starts doing the tail drop. Okay, so once it has reached the maximum buffer size, then it starts implementing the tail drop. So it is not going to do the red profile. Instead, it starts doing the tail drop. Okay. Right. So coming to the scheduler configuration, what all the components we try to create in the schedulers, we are going to mention the name to the scheduler. We'll try to mention the drop profile. In case the traffic is having a loss priority mark as a high, what is the drop profile it should have it? In case the traffic is marked for the loss priority low, what is the drop profile it is going to have? Okay, so even you can be as granular as possible. So the traffic, so within the same queue, okay, let's say this is my Q0 of, so the expedite forwarding. Within the same queue, I'm going to receive multiple traffic. So this traffic may contain loss priority as high. Okay, so this traffic may contain loss priority as low. Okay, so even the red profile, you can drop it based upon these parameters. Let's try to see the loss priority high. In case of loss priority high traffic, so when do you want to implement the drop profile? When do you want to implement the tail drop? For the loss priority low, so I can do the different red profile. Okay, so which really makes sense that the loss priority traffic, I'll try to apply the red profile, saying that if at least 10% of the traffic is in buffer, I'll start doing the random early drop. So when it comes to the loss priority high, so I'll try to mention that minimum, so 50%, or the 50 packets in the buffer, then only I'll start doing the random early drop. So you can mention that with help of the loss priority, you can mention the different drop profiles for it. Okay. Right, so this is about the drop profiles. Then coming to the bandwidth allocation. Okay, how are we going to allocate the bandwidth? The guaranteed bandwidth, definitely the scheduler which we are trying to apply to the traffic class, this traffic class is going to get the guaranteed bandwidth. Okay, so either you can mention the bandwidth with help of the rate or with help of the percentage. Okay, if it is a rate, the value you are going to mention. If it is a percentage, so the numeric value you are going to mention. Okay, so the guaranteed bandwidth, so this is definitely guaranteed on that particular interface. Whereas the transmit rate, so this is the maximum value it can use if other traffic classes are not occupying it. Okay, right, the percentage values is based upon the physical interface speed. So if I don't configure the shaper, if you start configuring the shaper, whatever the value you configure for the shaper will be used in order to calculate the percentages. Okay, so this is about the transmit rate and guaranteed rate. Now coming to the queue priority. Okay, within the traffic class, there are 4 queues. Which queue should get the maximum bandwidth? Okay, so which queue traffic will be preferred over the other queues traffic? That is decided with help of the queue priorities. Okay, we have the 4 queues, and then we are going to mention the priorities to these queues. Okay, so how the traffic is going to be processed? So this is on the rational purpose. Okay, if I mention the Q0 is a 12, Q1 as 4, Q2 as a 4, and Q3 as a 2. So the traffic will be transmitted within this ratio. Okay, so at any moment, at any given point of time, 12 packets from the Q0 will be processed, or the 4 packets from Q1, 4 packets from Q2, and 2 packets from Q3. This is going to be the transmit order. Okay. So this is the most of the configurations. How you are going to treat the traffic will be decided with help of the scheduler. Now, once I configure the multiple schedulers, okay, so one is for EF traffic, one is for BE traffic, one is for AF, one is for NC. The next step is to assign with help of the scheduler map. So scheduler map is a bridge between the traffic class and then schedulers. So we'll create a scheduler map. We'll try to mention what is the traffic classes we have it, what is the schedulers we are going to use it. Okay. So what is the traffic class and what is the schedulers we are going to use it. So we'll try to map it. Okay, so simple configuration. So the bridge between the traffic class and then schedulers. Coming to the last configuration step, so which contains the interfaces information. Okay, associate the interface. Either you can associate with actual interface or you can associate with the naming conventions of the interface. Okay, so the network name, whatever the network name we have mentioned, so with the help of that network name you can use it, or with the help of the actual interface you can use it. Okay, so here, so in this example, you have selected the network. The configuration parameters are same, but where do you want to apply it? Is it based upon the physical interface naming convention or with the help of the network name? Okay. Right, I'm going with the network name. I selected the MPLS link, and here I'm trying to mention the shaping values. Okay, so what is the administratively defined shaping value for this MPLS interface? Then we'll start assigning the other parameters. If we have a DSCP rewriting rule, we'll mention the DSCP rewriting rule. If it is IPv6 DSCP rewriting rule, we'll bind this option. If it is a .1p rewriting rule, we are going to apply that. So the .1p rewriting rule here. Then what is a scheduler map? We'll try to use that scheduler map information. Okay. So the interface will contain the scheduler map, will contain the rewriting rules, and will contain the shaping values. Okay. So now this scheduler map tells that what is the traffic that is allocated to each and every traffic class. Okay, traffic class 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so within each and every traffic class, so what queues will have the priority? Again, this is decided with the help of the scheduler. Okay, so these queues will receive what traffic, that is decided with the help of the forwarding class, and forwarding class will be used with the help of the QoS policies. So QoS policies match the traffic and places the traffic as a part of forwarding class. So now the forwarding class will refer to one or the other outgoing queues. So these queues will have what priority and what bandwidth will be allocated to these traffic classes. So we are going to apply this as a part of the schedule. So is that clear? So any questions on the traffic class, so class of service configuration? So we are going to do the same configuration in our lab. So we'll try to explore all the options. What is the QoS policies, app QoS policies? So we'll be exploring all these options in our lab exercises.
Yeah, one quick question, Hari.
Yes, yes.
Hari, we have 16 queues. So those 16 queues are all software queues, or it's the physical interface queues?
The complete QoS in Versa is a software-based QoS.
Oh.
All these are software-based queues.
Okay.
Right. So coming to the adaptive shaping, it's a very small concept. So after this adaptive shaping, so let's take a lunch break. Hardly 10-15 minutes topic. Right. Now imagine, so what is happening here? So on branch 1, the maximum bandwidth what we have is 500 Mbps. Okay, so now the branch 1 is holding some services. Okay, branch 2 and branch 3, they are trying to send some traffic. Okay, so they are trying to send some traffic. Now, what if branch 2 is trying to send 200 Mbps of the traffic and branch 3 is trying to send 700 Mbps of the traffic? What will happen at the branch 1? The branch 1, the maximum bandwidth is 500 Mbps. So on first come, first serve basis, the traffic is accepted. Once it exceeds the 500 Mbps of the traffic, what is going to happen? There's a tail drop that is going to happen to the traffic, right? So it's a normal operation. So wherever you go, the same operations. Once it exceeding the maximum throughput, there is a tail drop that is going to happen. Now with the help of adaptive shaping, what we can do is, so the traffic is getting dropped, the tail drop is going to happen. And before the traffic is performing the tail drop, what we can do is, we'll try to adjust the shaping values on the remote branches. Okay. So we'll try to adjust the shaping values on the remote branches. And how we are trying to assign the shaping values on the remote branches in the dynamic method. So we'll be trying with a dynamic method. So on branch 2, on branch 3, on branch 1, we'll create the adaptive shaping parameters, so that the moment branch 1 is trying to update something to the branch 2 and branch 3, they are going to obey that values. Okay. Right, so now here, so what is going to happen? So for example, the branch 1, we created that maximum bandwidth is 300 Mbps. Okay, branch 2 is updating 150 Mbps, sorry, branch 2 is sending 150 Mbps, branch 3 is sending 150 Mbps of, sorry, branch 3 is also sending the 150 Mbps of the traffic. Now, so the configured values, so we are going to configure some values on the branch 1. If the configured values exceeds, what branch 1 can do is, branch 1 can advertise to branch 2 and branch 3, saying that reduce the amount of bandwidth which you are trying to send it. Okay, so here, so the branch 1 can ask the branch 2 and 3 to reduce the amount of bandwidth, so which is nothing but, for example, 10% of the bandwidth. Okay, so the shaping values will be created dynamically on the branches, right? So in case, so for example, when the incoming traffic reaches the pre-configured thresholds, the branch 1 can signal to the remote devices to change the rating towards this side. Okay. Right, for example, so if the configured value drops below the configured threshold, what the branch can do, even it can ask the remote branches to increase the shaping values. Okay, to increase this shaping values. How exactly this is going to happen? It only happens for the SD-WAN traffic. So between the branches, the communication should happen on the overlays. And so the shaping values will get exchanged over the VXLAN tunnel with the help of the MPBGP protocol. With the help of the MPBGP protocol, so the branches will update to the VC, VC will update to the other branches. Right, so what are some configuration parameters? So it's a simple configuration. So the adaptive shaping, what it does is, on the remote branches, the shaping values will be created in a dynamic manner. Now, how this dynamic manner will be created? So the first step, so we need to adjust the downlink, speed on the physical interfaces. Okay, so we are going to use this downlink speed in order to determine when to trigger a ALR. When to trigger a ALR. So this downlink speed is mandatory. So we'll be talking about all this configuration. So then the next step is ALR. What is ALR? Advertised link rate. Advertised link rate, the value advertised to the remote devices to inform that what is the configuration value that has to be applied on the local link rate. Okay. The adaptive shaping, when to trigger the percentage change. When to trigger the percentage change, we are going to mention the high threshold and then low threshold values. So based upon the configured high threshold and low threshold value, the device will start asking to increase the percentage or decrease the percentage. Okay. So when can adaptive shaping, so the signaling can be accepted by the remote peers. So there should be at least a shaping configuration that should be available on the branches. Just a minute. Now coming to the configuration part. So here by going to the template, so by going to the services SD-WAN, under the system, you got adaptive shaping settings. Okay, under the settings, so you are going to mention the what is the high threshold, low threshold, percentage change, and as well as the polling seconds and the damping count. On a regular intervals, it is going to poll to the interfaces where we have enabled the shaping. Then it tries to verify how many times so it has to occur. So that's nothing but the damping count. If it exceeds the high threshold, what is going to happen? It is going to request to change the percentage value. So to decrease. If it comes to the low threshold value, it is going to ask to increase the percentage change value. Okay. How is this is going to happen? So by clicking on that edit, so we are going to enable the adaptive shaping. We'll try to mention what is the high threshold, what is the low threshold, what is the percentage change, what is the polling interval and number of times so that event has to occur. That's something but the damping count. Right. What is the high threshold? So what is the high threshold? So when it comes to the threshold values, how the percentage threshold values are calculated. So the percentage threshold values are calculated against to the actual link rate. Okay, so the actual link rate. So that's the reason. So we have to explicitly mention what is the downlink speed. Okay, what is the downlink speed? We have to explicitly mention. This value will be used in order to calculate what is the high threshold on that interface, what is the low threshold on that interface. Okay, so these values will be calculated against to the actual values on the interface. Now, what is the shaping value that has to be sent? What is the shaping value that has to be sent? So to the remote peers. Okay, the shaping value will be sent with help of the ALR. Okay, so with help of the ALR. Now, so we are asking that the 10% change, then 10% change. So when to trigger a percentage change, so to increase or decrease, this is nothing but the high threshold will ask to decrease the percentage change. When it reaches to the low threshold, it will ask to increase the percentage change. Okay. Now, what is the percentage change? What is the percentage change? The percentage change is nothing but the value of the ALR. Okay. So for example, so the interface, so I have a VNI 0/2.10 interface. I mentioned the shaping value as 100 MB here. The shaping value as 100 MB. At the physical interface level, I have mentioned, so the bandwidth is 500 MB. Now the high threshold, we mentioned it as 50%. Low threshold, we mentioned it as 10%. The ALR value, what we mentioned it as 200 MB. The ALR value, what we mentioned it as 200 MB. So just ignore about this configuration step. ALR value, we mentioned as 200 MB. The moment the branch is, so the moment the branch has received the traffic, incoming traffic, so which is exceeding the high bandwidth, high threshold, which is nothing but 50%. Okay, so which is reaching to the 250 MB. What the branch will start doing it, whatever the alarm rate, so it has advertised the rate it has sent it, 200 MB. So this will be exchanged, so the prior to implementing the adaptive shaping. Then it will start asking to reduce the bandwidth on this ALR. Okay, so it will start asking the branches to reduce 10% of the configured ALR. Configured ALR is 200 MB. So it will put the shaping value as 180 MB. Okay, it will ask, so for example, so if I try to mention that percentage change is 10%, so 20 MB, we are trying to reduce it. So the dynamic shaping value will be set as a 180 MB. Now, so again, so if it is not reaching to the low threshold value, so it will be keep on asking to change the percentage change. So it will keep on asking, so to change. So now, so 180, so reduce the 180, less than 180. So reduce the less than value until and unless it reaches to the low threshold value. The moment it starts reaching to the low threshold value, it will ask to increase the percentage value, which is nothing but 10% increase in the ALR values, whatever the calculation it has at that moment. So it will start increasing the 10% of the change. Okay. So on the remote branches, with help of adaptive shaping, what we are trying to achieve is we'll try to configure the shaping values in a dynamic method. Instead of static method, we'll try to configure in the dynamic method.
Okay. Hari, yes. Is there any way if we can monitor the traffic between the branches, how much traffic is?
Yes, of course you can monitor it. So on the analytics, so you can go ahead and you can see the usage. Okay, so to the particular branch to branch, so what WAN circuit it is using, how much it is using, you can do that.
Okay.
Right, so this is about the adaptive shaping. So how do you configure the interfaces? So which is adaptive, which is to change the bandwidth. Okay, by going to the interface, so at the physical interface level, you can change the uplink and then you can change the downlink bandwidth. Okay. Right, so at the shaping, so you have to enable explicitly at the, so the enabling the shaping at the interfaces. So this is mandatory. Okay, so you can put any of the value here at the shaping. So if the branches, branch 1, branch 2, branch 3, on the branch 1, you have enabled the adaptive shaping. What is a prerequisite on branch 2 and 3 in order to obey the shaping values at these interfaces, at this outgoing interfaces, you are going to enable the shaping on the interfaces. Okay, this configuration setting, you have to do it on branch 2 and branch 3 so that the adaptive shaping values will be triggered. So the branches will be obeying the dynamic shaping values. Though we created a static value here, Okay, so you can verify the show class of service interfaces. You could see that what is the dynamic shaping values it is going to receive.
Hello.
Right, so you wanted to set up the ALR information. So what is the ALR that has to be advertised to the remote sites? By going to the configuration services, so then SD-WAN site information, select the interfaces, then you can say the ALR information. Either you can mention the actual information or percentage of information.
वहाँ पे ट्रैफिक आउट नहीं हो रहा है, ठीक है, और इसमें कॉन्फ़िगरेशन चेंज करी है किसी ने क्या?
Right, so with the help of the MPBGP updates, okay, so the adaptive, so the ALR informations as well as the percentage changes so will be updated to the remote branches. And that too, to be precise, it uses the VXLAN tunnel in order to advertise all this cost related information. So the commands to verify the class of service, so there are some multiple CLI based commands, out of which one command show class of service interface is extensive. So here you could see that. So the configured rates, so the configured rates so is 1,45,000 kilobits. Okay, what is going to happen if the adaptive shaping in place? If the adaptive shaping in place, so I'm going to the same branch and I'm executing this command. I could see that. So after some time, the values are getting changed. Okay. So the adaptive shaping, so the devices are going to obey that. So they are going to change these adaptive shaping values in a dynamic method. Okay, on a regular intervals, if you keep on monitoring the interfaces, so based upon the branches which are signaling, so these values will get adjusted accordingly. It's about the adaptive shaping. So adaptive shaping will be used during the congestion time. So the branches should obey the shaping values whichever we configured it. Okay, so this shaping values will be created in a dynamic manner. So in order to do that, at least one or the other branch, we have to enable the adaptive shaping. Mention what is the high threshold, low threshold, ALR, and then percentage change values we are going to do. Any questions on the adaptive shaping or the QoS part?